Hello, Winston here. Today's video is growing Cholla part 2. Remember in the first video I showed you different species. You're probably looking at the glove and that little tunicata cutting. This is a demonstration for you to understand how quickly these kinds of cuttings attach themselves to your hands or whatever. Always be careful when dealing with cylindropuntia, or as we call them, cholla. They attach themselves to almost everything, and you must be careful. This is tunicata, as I said, and we have chosen one of the plants to dismember, try to take cuttings from them very carefully. This is not the normal way I do it. If it weren't for the fact that I am operating in the corner of my greenhouse, it would be lying on its side and very much easier for me to separate the cuttings from the mom. Some of them come off very easily, others don't. Sometimes you have to pull and tug, and it takes a while, but in the end you get there. Tunicata is native to North America and Mexico. Unlike most cholla, yes, you've noticed that in spite of the pulling and tugging, there's still a little bit there. And we will have to be very careful. Notice that the double hand, the glove approach, eventually works. This kind of glove is not the usual one I use for my garden. I have a much stronger one, but in the greenhouse sometimes the nice velvety feel I can use even when doing something like this. Okay, we've got all our cuttings out, and I'll show you properly in a minute, and we'll get ready to start the propagating process. That's the mum, the specimen from which all the cuttings came. So we have there about 6 of them, well, a couple little bits, but we won't do the little bits. We simply do 6 cuttings and place them nicely into 6 pots. Okay. At the back of the tray, you notice a plant. That gives a good example of what a tunicata that has rooted 2 or 3 years ago would look like. To start off this propagation experiment, I usually put some soil at the bottom of the pot. My current mix is generally the same that I've used for many years. That is perlite, multi-purpose, and some people are very particular about the multi-purpose. I tend to mix my system. I use different kinds of multi-purpose. And the third ingredient is, of course, grit, which in my case, generally speaking, is always pea gravel. It's cheap and it's very easy to obtain. Okay, one by one, I'll take my cuttings and very carefully, you notice I'm using one of my old clippers there, and place them gently into the pot. Now, tunicata, like most chollas, are barbed spines. They have barbed spines, which means that they can, literally attach themselves almost to anything. When I say anything, sometimes even plastic, metal, whatever it looks like. So, in handling these plants, you must be very careful. There we are. We have almost all the cuttings in the pot. And then we do the second stage whereby we want soil around them. First, using my little spoon. That's because I have the soil on the top in a jar. That is never usually the case. But as I said, I'm in the greenhouse. In fact, the little corner of my greenhouse. And it doesn't have much room to allow me the big tabletop that this kind of operation needs. But we will make do with what we have. After all, this is a one-man operation. The other hand, which you're not seeing, is holding on to the tripod to make sure it stays where it is and doesn't cause me any grief. Yes. One of the interesting things of growing these plants is that I find that although they're difficult to bloom, a little effort in a warmer greenhouse, especially where in summer they're allowed to build up heat, will add to the kind of situation where it makes it much easier for them to bloom. Okay, some more soil all around. It's important that the cutting remains firmly in the center. And once I have enough soil, the last bit, which I usually do, is a bit of pea gravel all around. Again, to confirm and makes it easy for the young plant to get going. All right, this is about the last bit where I place lots of stones, officially pea gravel stones, all around the individual cutting, and make sure it's firm enough as it gets ready to go out in the world and enjoy the things that most young plants do, starting to grow and producing branches. Pea gravel is interesting. Comes in 2 or 3 sizes. I usually use a middle size. I believe when dealing with opuntias or chollas, they are so powerful that they need stronger stem to survive, and therefore one of the best ways to start them off is to make sure the soil that you start them off is quite strong and powerful. Of course, these plants would soon start to grow normally and wouldn't be allowed to stay very long in these tiny pots. As you know, opuntias and all chollas do go to a very okay. I'm showing you a young cholla which already has roots, and you can see the way that these plants will soon survive. Notice the way it's already sticking to your glove. Okay, have a look at this plant. This is Tunicata cholla, 3 years old, and this is the aim of the little cutting. Within 2-3 years, they will begin to get like this. Okay, let's put them all together. That is the original plant we got the cuttings from. We are ready to present 6 cuttings, ready to go out into the world, get rooted, and in many ways end up looking like the plants at the far end. It's important to stress, keep everything very dry for the moment, no watering till the propagated plants show signs of growth. This is Winston in London, singing the praises of cholla, in this case, Cylindropuntia tunicata. I hope you will grow some. Thank you very much for watching.